So here we are at last, ready to dive into a world of fighting tanks, jets, dive bombing transports, helicopters ripping buildings apart with their miniguns, and infantry charging across massive landscapes to take objectives. This is the game where you feel you're like in Saving Private Ryan, Platoon and Apocalypse Now, all rolled into one. This, my friends, is Conquest in Battlefield 4. To a Call of Duty player, this all looks amazing, and you've probably seen dozens of videos online showing the amazing moments that can happen in this game. But please trust me when I ask you to make yourself a nice large mug of coffee, or maybe crack open a beer and hang around, and I'll share some advice about how to get the most out of this game mode. If you haven't already, please check out my videos about getting started in Battlefield 4, which cover practicing on the test range, and my videos on setting up the Assault, Engineer and Support classes. They'll give you a great foundation for playing and enjoying the Conquest mode, and they'll make you sure you don't come to the conclusion that Battlefield is a running and dying simulator. In this video I'm going to be talking about quite a few ideas, but they can be summed up into three main points. You should play the objective and capture flags. You should spawn close to your squad and work together. And you should keep fighting to the end no matter what the score is. To actually get into a game of Conquest, go to the multiplayer, quick start, then scroll down to Conquest and start off with the base maps. Stick with these for a few weeks and you'll get to know the terrain and tactics required for these maps before moving on to the other maps from the DLC. Let's start with what Conquest is all about and how you win. Conquest is played on large maps where two teams spawn in from their home bases at either end. There are a number of objectives called flags to capture scattered around the map, which teams capture by having more players near them than the opposing team. Flags can be recaptured by having more players than the enemy, or by reaching flags where there are no opposing players. A flag stays with the side that captured it until the opposing team approaches it. The flag capture process starts with an enemy flag being neutralised first, which takes several seconds, then the actual team capture, which again takes a further several seconds. If at any time during the capture process there are an equal number of opposing players around the flag, the process stops until there is an imbalance in the numbers, and then the process will either reverse or continue. Flag captures are tactically very important too, because you can spawn at friendly flags, getting you into the action much faster and allowing you to keep the pressure on and spread your team's dominance across the map. Each team also starts with around 800 points, which are referred to as tickets. As the game progresses, these tickets reduce through time, and every time a team member dies and is respawned. Capturing flags increases the speed at which the enemy loses tickets, and the first team to 0 tickets, or the team with the lowest number of tickets when the timer runs out, loses the match. The really important thing to bear in mind is that capturing flags and holding them reduces the enemy ticket rate at a massively faster rate than by just killing individual soldiers. In a game where one team was taking the flags but dying lots, another team was just killing the enemy and not taking flags, the team that was taking the flags would win, even though they died a lot more. This is why you'll always hear people say, play the objective, or PTO, or PTFO for short, because it's more important to take and hold flags than have a good KD ratio. As an individual, you also get more points for capturing flags and helping your teammates than you do for just killing enemies. So, if you capture flags, you'll end up higher up in the final scoreboard than someone who just goes around killing people. What makes Conquest so dynamic is that once you've captured a flag, or are in the process of capturing it, you can then spawn at that flag when you die, enabling you to jump right back into the fight in a critical situation. You can also spawn near your own squad mates, the guys that have the green bits above their heads, which means again you can keep taking the fight to the enemy and be supporting each other with med packs, ammo packs or rocket and repair support. And in fact this is the key to having a good squad. When you die, check the deployed screen for teammates and spawn in next to them if you can. or if you can't because they're in combat, wait a couple of seconds and spawn in then. The downside of this is occasionally you'll spawn into the middle of a firefight and then you'll die. The upside is that you'll be able to keep the pressure on the enemy, clear them out and capture that objective. Now, let's talk about which class to use. On most Conquest maps you'll be encountering or even driving and piloting lots of vehicles, tanks, jeeps and helicopters to name a few. So the engineer, equipped with anti-tank rockets, can be a good start, especially if your initial rush is going to put you into contact with enemy armoured vehicles. It's really important to change your class during the game depending on the threats you're facing or objectives you're trying to take. If for example you're being harassed by enemy gunship helicopters, equip a Stinger and you'd be surprised at how just locking onto enemy aircraft will make them leave an area. Or use the tried and tested method of locking on and shooting. They'll then fire their flares to distract the missile, but then you fire again as soon as you reload and get a lock, and you almost always get a hit, and sometimes even a kill. If you're getting into lots of firefights with enemy infantry, switch to the assault class and take advantage of the better assault rifle weapons and med packs to heal you and your squad. If your squad is working closely together, or if you're working with teammates from other squads, maybe consider running the support class so you can keep everyone equipped with ammo, rockets and explosives. Maybe even take a look at what the other members of your squad are running class-wise and choose something different to support them. One of the amazing things about Conquest and Battlefield 4 in general is that you're creating your own adventure, your own story, your own movie. So just simply decide for this game that you're going to be a combat medic or an ammo runner or an anti-air specialist. Mix it up, try different roles and most of all, have fun. If you're unsure about what class to use, you can't really go wrong with the assault class and your favourite assault rifle. Now, the start of any game of Conquest can be a bit of a scramble. These are big maps with the home bases a long way from the first flag, so you absolutely must try and get in a vehicle or aircraft at the start. Hit the ready button, then fiddle with the right stick to select something to jump into. In Battlefield 4 you'll always do better when fighting with your squad mates, the fellas with the green bars above their heads or the green triangles on the map, so if you can, jump into the same vehicle as them or at least follow them. If not, just follow the majority of your team to where they're going. If you do deploy on foot, and trust me it happens every now and again, take a quick look around and run towards the nearest moving vehicles. By pressing the square button, hopefully you'll jump into one of these, but if you do get completely left behind, have a good look and there's normally at least a quad or a jeep left to commandeer. But if not, unfortunately you are going to have to strike out on foot. Now, once you've got to that first flag, you need to decide how to capture it. If the flag is close to your home base, just stay in your vehicle until it's yours, then steam off to the next one. But if you've got a longer initial rush, be careful because enemy troops or vehicles may have reached that flag too. If you're in an armoured vehicle, park and wait near the flag, scanning the surroundings. But if you're on a thin-skinned vehicle, park it somewhere out of the way, then find somewhere near the flag to hide while capturing it. The capture is more important than engaging with the enemy, so only break cover when the flag is yours or if your hand is forced. Even if the capture process pauses because more enemies have arrived, stay put if you're safe, because as they move off, you'll start the capture process again. Also remember that while you're still alive, your squad mates can spawn in on you to speed up the capture process, so it's another good reason to stay alive and hidden. Now once you've got that first flag, you'll be like, well hey, and you've got to decide what to do next, and that'll depend on if you're the squad leader or not. Press and hold the right shoulder button and you'll see the dialogue box pop up. Is there an extra box right at the top that says attack? If there is, it's your responsibility to give the orders to your squad, and you do this by looking for the little objective markers on the screen, centering on the A, B, C, D, etc, and then pressing and holding the right shoulder button. And then what you then do is move the arrow, well, to where the dialogue is that you want to go, i.e. with the top it'll be attack or defend, and all your squad mates will get that message to attack or defend that objective. This can be a little bit tricky to get used to start off with, and trust me, quite a lot of the times you'll be shouting for a medic when you don't really mean it, but select it and say attack or defend. If you're coming under a steady attack from where you are, you may decide to defend it, but most of the time you'll want to capture the next nearest flag to stop enemies spawning there and increase their rate of ticket loss. The distance in meters to the flag is shown, but if it isn't, then that flag is a long way away, so you're probably better off looking around for a vehicle to jump in and use. And remember, go back to that dialogue wheel and ask your squad mates to jump in so they can come too. The role of the squad leader is often overlooked, but if done sensibly, it can help your squad fight together in a cohesive manner and helps bring the team together for superior firepower and effectiveness. Just bear in mind that if you tell your squad to attack a target and then you die but don't spawn near them, don't suddenly switch to another target miles away from where they are, because they won't be able to get there and will just start to ignore you anyway. If you're not the squad leader, just follow the orders you're being given to tell you where to go. If no orders are being given, go onto that dialogue wheel again and ask for them. If still nothing happens, look for where your squad mates are on the map in green and start following and supporting the ones that seem to be playing the objectives. However, if none of your team seem to be doing anything constructive, say they're just sniping, or maybe they're flying around in helicopters and driving tanks where you can't get involved with them, you're gonna have to strike out by yourself. But remember, there's always safety in numbers, so if you can, stick with teammates and always approach the flags as stealthily as you can too, from the flanks, down the sides of buildings, or from behind cover. So the next question is, which flags should you take? You'll want to go for a majority of flags to win the game, say, 4 out of 7 on Goldman Railway. But you don't want any more because you want to encourage the enemy to spawn at the flags closest to their base, so that you'll have a rough idea of which direction they'll be coming from in vehicles and on foot. Plus, if you try and take too many flags, your team will become overstretched and liable to suddenly have lots of flags flip. If we look at this map of Goldman Railway, if I was the squad leader in the Russian team, which starts to the west of the map on the left, I'd probably think about trying and taking and holding, say, E, F, D and C, or E, A, B and C. D is a strange one on Goldman Railway because it's a railway train and moves to the east or west depending on who's captured it. If in doubt, follow your teammates, but do keep an eye on the flags near your home base, in this case the E flag, because you'll be surprised how many times an enemy will drive or fly or even yomp on foot all the way across the map to capture it, and our teammates will ignore it because they concentrate on the hottest flags in the middle of the map. Remember that as soon as you've captured a flag, enemies can't spawn there anymore, but there could be some hanging around, hiding. So, if you're about to charge off and capture the next objective, be prepared to turn around if the enemy starts to neutralise one of those flags. And also, if they're a sneaky recon unit, they can drop a spawn beacon, which means that even if they all die and they don't own that flag, this little electronic transmitter means they can still spawn in. If you think that's happening, have a scout round. You can hear them beeping and then destroy it with some machine gun fire. Always remember that it's captures that are important in Conquest, not kills, so it is an acceptable tactic to avoid combat where you can, to ensure you get to that flag in one piece. However, you are going to die an awful lot in Conquest, and probably over and over again, but don't worry because it's captures, not deaths, that matter the most. However, what you do on the deploy screen after you die is the most important decision you make in the game in terms of helping your team win, but also in terms of you enjoying the game and it not becoming a running and dying simulator. Take your time on the deploy screen, change your class or the loadout of your class if you need to, and take a good look at that map. Your first priority should be your squad mates, the green arrows. Are they near an objective, about to capture it, or maybe they're in combat already? Move your deploy point over them and keep pressing until you spawn in. You may get killed straight away, but you may just be the extra firepower they need to get the job done at that flag. Your next priority should be contested flag, which as long as they haven't been neutralised you can spawn in and join the fight to push the enemy back. Your next priority are teammates, say in helicopters on the way to objectives. Spawn in with them and then join them on the way to combat. Next priority will depend on the map. If there's a friendly spawn near one that needs attacking, go there and get right back into the fight, or take a look at the vehicles available. Use the right stick to select a transport helicopter or a tank or even a jeep or a quad to get you moving back into the combat zone to take those flags. If by accident you do end up on foot at your home base, hopefully there'll at least be a quad bike to jump in and head off to where your teammates are, or towards the next enemy flag. Now, I have to mention spotting. If you haven't got used to doing it already, now's the time to make it second nature. Always be spotting. Aim at the enemy and tap that right shoulder button to spot them before you engage, unless of course you're at super short range and they've already seen you. You should be spotting any enemies you see, no matter how far away, so that your friendly aircraft, helicopters and tanks and infantry can engage at distances beyond your reach. Being an effective spotter will make a big difference to your team winning or losing the game, so please keep it up. Now, a little about the vehicles and aircraft in Battlefield 4 Conquest mode, so let's start with tanks. Using tanks really comes down to practice and levelling them up. When you get into a tank, make sure you avoid driving on the roads near the objectives because they'll probably have mines on them. But your job is to push into flags and support the infantry, so you need to be engaging enemy armour to enable your team to capture the flag and keep moving forwards. If you start taking damage, back off, find a safe place to park and heal up. If you're an engineer, you can jump out and use your torch to speed the process up, then get back into the fight. Whatever you do, don't just sit back and fire shells from a long distance and let the enemy tanks take your infantry apart. Get in there and engage, even if it means dying a lot. You will get better, I promise. If you're the machine gunner in a tank, you've got a super important job, as you want to be constantly scanning for enemy vehicles and soldiers. Remember, spot them first, then take them out with your machine gun. If you get into a fight with another tank and you've got the engineer class equipped, consider jumping out and using your rockets against the enemy tank too. Or if you haven't got anti-tank rockets, use your repair torch to keep your vehicle in the fight, then jump back in when it's safe to do so. Transport helicopters are often referred to as flying coffins, but they can be incredibly powerful and swing the balance of a game in a couple of minutes. Transport helicopters' strength is their ability to move several soldiers very quickly across the battlefield, and they also act as mobile spawn points for the whole team. But their weakness is they're slow compared to the other helicopters, lightly armed and lightly armoured, and they can be very susceptible to missile attack. If you're piloting a transport chopper, try and keep low and approach your objective from a roundabout route. Hopefully team and squad mates will spawn into your bird and then parachute out when you get near the objective. If you're feeling confident and have a couple of teammates on the guns, try circling the flag to let the miniguns make short work of any infantry. But you will be very vulnerable, so be prepared to make a tactical retreat if you come under fire. As the game matures, and you and your team and the enemy get sucked into heavy firefights over the central flags, consider using the helicopter to go right up to an enemy flag near their spawn, or one that seems to be being ignored. And if it's unoccupied, just hover over it or land on it and then move away as soon as it's in your hands. This helps you capture more flags, but will also cause enemy troops to disengage from fighting your teammates and return to capture that flag, allowing your teammates the space to capture those important central flags. I wanted to talk a little about the engineer class and some tactics you could try for engaging air and ground targets. When going up against helicopters with your stingers, it can be very difficult to shoot them down. Their flares will often confuse your missiles, but like I said before, if you try locking on, waiting for them to fire their flares, then shoot, then you quickly lock on and fire again, chances are the first missile you fire will miss, but the second one will usually hit. Don't worry if you don't kill the enemy helicopter. Think of your missiles as area denial tools. The act of just locking on will scare lots of helicopters away, giving your squad time to take an objective. Tanks and armoured vehicles can be tricky if you're going against an experienced driver, especially if he or she has a good machine gunner on board too. If you're with a few teammates and you've got a couple of engineers with rockets too, or a friendly tank, then you've got a chance with a direct attack. But if you're by yourself, chances are you get off one rocket, then the tank will come looking for you. So either realise that discretion is the better part of valour and don't engage again and go and hide, or what I like to do is you fire off one rocket, then skedaddle round to another angle to engage from another direction. And with a bit of luck, the driver, you'll be able to get them, or the driver will get scared and drive off. always remember that Conquest is about taking and holding those flags, not making kills. So when you're taking a flag, it's best just to find somewhere out of the way and hide until it's captured, rather than engage enemies at the same time. Because as soon as you've captured the flag, your teammates will start spawning in too, and you'll have the numbers to really take the hurt to the enemy. Also remember that while you're alive, your squad mates can spawn on you, so there's absolutely nothing wrong with crouching down in a dark corner and waiting for some backup to arrive. My final point in Battlefield Conquest is never give up. Keep trying to capture those flags. If the enemy is super entrenched in an objective, use vehicles or helicopters, or even on foot to go round and capture one further away, and that will perhaps distract them away from the central flags, but you'll have a chance to get in and turn the tide of the battle your way. So there it is. I know this video has been a little long, but hopefully it will have given you some ideas about how to get the most out of Battlefield 4's Conquest mode. In essence, you should play the objective and capture flags. You should spawn close to your squad and work together, and keep fighting to the end no matter what the score is, and you won't go far wrong. That's enough from me. Please put any questions or comments down below. Hit like if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you'd like to see more of the same. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon.